What did you do when you realized your daughter was being abused? I came home early from work with a headache, expecting the house to be empty since my teenage daughter Georgia had cheer practice. But instead I heard voices upstairs. I was about to call up when I heard her say, "Please stop, you're hurting me." Everything inside me went cold. Then came her boyfriend Paxton's voice, low and menacing. "You embarrassed me in front of my friends today." The sound of a slap echoed through the house, followed by my daughter crying. I ran up those stairs and burst through her bedroom door. Paxton had Georgia backed against the dresser, his hand around her throat. The second he saw me, he dropped his hand and stepped back like nothing had happened. "Oh, hi, Mrs. Johnson. We were just—" I cut him off. "Get out of my house, now." He looked confused, putting on that innocent act. "I was just helping Georgia with—" "Get out!" I screamed. He grabbed his backpack and left, but not before whispering something to Georgia that made her face go white. The moment he was gone, I turned to Georgia. Her face was red and swollen from crying, finger-shaped bruises already forming on her throat. "Georgia, what the hell was that?" She immediately started making excuses. "Mom, we were just playing around. He wasn't really hurting me," but I could see the fear in her eyes. "Playing around? He had his hand around your throat." She broke down completely then, sliding down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, sobbing. Through her tears, she told me everything. How it had started with him grabbing her arm too hard when he was angry, how it escalated to slapping and pushing, how he'd convinced her it was her fault. He'd threatened to kill himself if she ever left him, told her that no one would believe her because he was so perfect. She felt completely trapped, especially with homecoming just 3 days away, and the entire school expecting them to be crowned king and queen. She begged me not to call the police, convinced that no one would believe her. "He'll say I'm lying," she sobbed. "Everyone loves him. They'll think I'm crazy." That's when the idea hit me. What if we didn't have to convince anyone? I said. What if we made him show everyone exactly who he really is? I explained my plan. It was risky, but she was desperate enough to try anything. On homecoming night, she got ready like nothing had changed. When Paxton picked her up, he was back to his charming self, acting like nothing had happened. "Sorry about the other day, Mrs. Johnson. Georgia and I were just goofing around." I wanted to punch him, but instead I smiled and said, "Have fun tonight." At the game, I sat in the stands with my heart pounding. During halftime, they called the homecoming court to the field. Georgia walked out there hand in hand with Paxton, both wearing their crowns. When the microphone was passed to Paxton for his speech, Georgia suddenly reached out and took it instead. She looked terrified but determined. "I can't do this anymore," she said, her voice cracking. "Everyone thinks Paxton and I are perfect together, but he's not perfect. He hurts me." Paxton's face went dead white. He reached for the microphone and hissed, "Give me that right now." But Georgia stepped back and kept talking. "He hits me when he's mad. He chokes me when I talk to other people. And I've been lying to everyone because I was scared you'd think it was my fault." Paxton made his fatal mistake right then. Instead of trying to deny it, he grabbed Georgia's wrist and twisted it, exactly like he'd done 100 times before. "Shut up," he snarled, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're embarrassing me." Georgia yanked her arm away and shouted into the microphone, "See? He just did it again, right in front of all of you." The crowd erupted. People were shouting, booing, his own teammates backing away from him. Georgia was shaking, but she kept hold of that microphone. She looked out at the crowd and said, "I'm done being scared of him. I'm done lying for him." Then she dropped the microphone and walked off the field with her head held high. Later that night, 3 other girls came forward with their own stories about Paxton. He was arrested and charged with multiple counts of domestic violence. Georgia kept her homecoming crown on her dresser, and every time she looks at it, she remembers the night she found her voice when it mattered most.
What happened when your sister made you ask out her best friend to prom? My sister burst into my room and blocked the door screaming, "Please, just take Angie to prom. She's been crying about going alone." I stared at her from my desk chair and said, "This has disaster written all over it." 3 weeks before prom, my sister sat on my bed and launched into her pitch. "Angie's been rejected by 4 different guys. She won't eat lunch anymore, just hides in the library." She pulled up Angie's Instagram showing months of deleted photos. "She's been my best friend since 5th grade, and now she's talking about not even going to prom. Would it kill you to ask her?" The guilt was working. Angie had practically lived at our house growing up, always laughing at my dumb jokes, always bringing homemade cookies. She needs one good night before graduation. I felt my stomach knot up, but agreed to try. Finding her alone in the library was easy. I walked over nervously and cleared my throat. "Hey Angie, would you maybe want to go to prom with me?" She looked up shocked, her book dropping. "Are you serious?" When I nodded, she whispered yes, eyes bright with disbelief. The week before prom, we went corsage shopping together at the local florist. Angie kept touching every flower nervously. "I don't know anything about corsages. Is white too boring?" I picked up a bright orange one and held it against her wrist. "How about traffic cone orange?" She laughed and pushed my hand away. "That's hideous." We spent 20 minutes making increasingly ridiculous suggestions until the florist looked ready to kick us out. Angie finally chose a simple white rose with baby's breath. "So pretty," I said, looking at her. Prom night came too fast. At her house, her mom positioned us for photos by the staircase. Her dad joined her mom with his professional camera. "Turn your head slightly left." "No, your other left," Angie muttered. "There's only one left, Dad." I tried not to laugh, but failed. "Start over. You're both laughing," her mom scolded. We took approximately 700 photos. Angie's face hurt from fake smiling. "I look deranged in all of these," she said, scrolling through them. Her little brother photobombed the last few, making bunny ears behind us. "At least those are honest," Angie said. In the car, she kept checking her makeup in the mirror. "Do I look okay? Tell me honestly." I glanced over. "You look perfect. Stop worrying." At dinner before prom, we sat with 3 other couples at a fancy restaurant my sister had booked. Angie talked confidently with everyone at our table about her summer plans, her volunteer work at the animal shelter, things I never knew. "I'm fostering 3 kittens right now," she told another couple. "Want to see pictures?" She pulled up approximately 1,000 cat photos. Everyone loved her. When someone asked how long we'd been dating, we both froze. "First date," I admitted. "But we've known each other forever," Angie added quickly. The waiter brought dessert, and Angie stole half of mine. "Yours looks better," she explained with her mouth full. At the venue, we attempted dancing to the fast songs. Angie counted out loud, 1, 2, 3, ow! She stepped on my foot again. "I warned you I was terrible." We gave up on actual moves and just jumped around like middle schoolers. Then the DJ switched to a slow song. Angie tensed. "I don't know how to do this either." I pulled her close. "Just follow me." We swayed together, her head against my chest. "Your heart's beating really fast," she said. "It does that." I gulped nervously. She looked up at me, and for a second, everything else disappeared. "Let's get some air," she suggested. Angie sat on the fountain edge, moonlight catching her face. "Can I be honest? I've felt invisible my whole life," she said, "like I'm everyone's backup plan." The words hit differently knowing what I knew. "That's not true," I said firmly. She laughed sadly. "You're sweet for lying." I moved closer. "Angie, listen." She looked up at me with those eyes. "Yeah?" My heart pounded. Our faces were inches apart, her lips slightly parted. "You've never been invisible to—" "Angie, they're playing your song!" Her friends crashed through the doors. We jumped apart, both breathing hard. Back inside, we slow danced to the last 5 songs straight. "I don't want tonight to end," she whispered against my shoulder. "What if everything's different tomorrow?" I held her tighter, guilt and want mixing dangerously. Maybe different is good. Driving her home, the silence felt heavy until Angie shakily said, "I've liked you for 3 years, but I was just your sister's weird friend who hung around too much." She stared at her hands. "Tonight felt like pretending you could actually want me." I pulled over suddenly, making her gasp. "What are you doing?" I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a crumpled envelope. "I wrote this 5 weeks ago, the day after Brody rejected you." She unfolded it with trembling fingers, reading my terrible handwriting, asking her to prom, explaining how I'd noticed her for months but never had the courage. "You wanted to ask me?" Her eyes filled with tears. "But then why did you wait so long?" I looked away. "Because I'm an idiot who needed 3 weeks to work up the nerve." Angie started laugh crying. "We're both idiots. I almost didn't say yes when you asked because I thought it was too good to be true. At her doorstep, she turned to me. This whole time we both wanted this? Instead of answering, I finally kissed her properly. No interruptions, no pretending, just us. Took you long enough, she whispered against my lips. My girlfriend mocked my cooking until her roommate said, marry him before I do. She suddenly became a food critic. My girlfriend insisted I cook for her roommate's birthday dinner at our apartment. I'd been planning the menu all week, but she kept reminding me not to go overboard with the fancy stuff because Lexi preferred simple food. The second I started prepping in the kitchen, setting up my mise en place and heating the cast iron, my girlfriend grabbed her phone and sprawled on the couch. I'm ordering sushi for myself, she announced without looking up. Your food's always too heavy. I watched her scroll through TikTok while I worked on the carbonara from scratch, making fresh pasta and whisking eggs with pecorino romano. Smells incredible in here, said a voice from the doorway. Lexi had come home early from work, dark hair pulled back, still in her office clothes, the type who actually appreciated effort when she saw it. Oh my god, she said, moving closer to the stove. Are you making pasta from scratch? She actually watched me work, not the polite glance people usually give. I didn't know guys our age even knew how to cook like this. My ex could barely make cereal. We started talking about food while I finished the dish. She'd traveled through Italy last summer. Rome, Florence, Bologna. Real interest, asking about techniques and ingredients. Have you always cooked like this? Lexi asked, leaning against the counter. I'd love to learn sometime. Your girlfriend is so lucky. My chest tightened. My girlfriend had never once asked to learn anything I made. Not once in 2 years of dating. I'd even catered her office party last month, and she'd introduced the food as something we picked up. Does she eat my food? I asked. Lexi's expression shifted slightly. Well, she mentioned you cook a lot. She paused. Actually, now that I think about it, I've never seen her eat anything you've made. She's always getting takeout when we hang out. That hit harder than expected. I cooked 5 nights a week and ate most meals alone. Lexi must have seen something in my face because she stepped closer. That's her loss. This looks restaurant quality. It's nothing special, I said, plating the carbonara. From the living room, I caught my girlfriend glancing over while pretending to watch Netflix. Her eyes narrowed slightly, seeing Lexi and me talking. Lexi noticed too and smiled. Well, looks like someone finally noticed you exist. My girlfriend looked away quickly, turning the volume up on the TV. You know what? Lexi said, taking a bite of the pasta. Her eyes literally closed. This is the best thing I've eaten in months. She looked directly at my girlfriend. Girl, if you don't marry him, I will. This is insane. She took another bite, then raised her voice just enough to carry. Seriously, I would wife you up just for this carbonara alone. Do you cater? Because I have single friends who would pay good money to date a guy who cooks like this. The effect was instantaneous. My girlfriend appeared in the kitchen faster than I'd ever seen her move. Her face flushed red. Since when are you two so friendly? She demanded, positioning herself between Lexi and me. Lexi shrugged with practiced innocence. Since I discovered what I've been missing. Your boyfriend's a literal chef and you're ordering sushi? My girlfriend grabbed a fork like she was claiming territory. I eat his food all the time, actually. She took a massive bite of the carbonara, overacting like she was in a commercial. Babe, this is amazing. Why didn't you tell me you were making this? I did tell you. 3 times. You said it was too heavy, I said. No, I meant the sushi was too heavy, she said quickly, already pulling me away from Lexi. Can we talk? Now. Lexi watched us with amusement. I'll just be here, eating this incredible meal that someone cooked with actual skill and love that any smart woman would appreciate. My girlfriend practically dragged me to our bedroom. How long has Lexi been flirting with you? She hissed, closing the door. I said she wasn't. She just really enjoyed my cooking. She's been coming on to you this whole time. How would you know? I said. You haven't looked up from your phone during a meal in months. That's not true. I Instagram your food all the time. No, you Instagram restaurant food. Name one dish I've made that you've actually tried. Her mouth opened, then closed. The chicken thing? I've never made a chicken thing. I've been vegetarian for 3 years. The silence that followed was deafening. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Lexi's right, isn't she? She finally whispered. I don't even know you. I turned back toward the kitchen where someone actually wanted to share a meal with me. No, I said. You never bothered to try.